Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. I've got the Vivo V23 and V23 Pro here. These are, I guess, mid-range phones with some premium features, and they sent me both, which is cool because they are slightly different, but both very interesting in their own way. So I'm glad they did that. These are what the boxes look like. So you get the V23. Apparently this model comes as 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. That's an option. And here this one doesn't say the storage or whatever, but anyway, let's start with the 23 because, well, I actually think it's the more interesting one of the two. So here we go. Nothing in here. Here's the phone. Some IMEI stickers and a divider. Nothing too crazy here. And then we've got, a case. Nice. It's a TPU case. Just something to get you started with some protection. Perfect fit, which is nice. Then we've got a manual, important information, and warranty card. That's thick paper. Nice. This is just kind of boring. All right, so here we got a 44-watt fast charger. This is clearly a UK plug, but USB type A on one end. And then we've got a pair of earbuds with a 3.5 millimeter connector, but we also have a 3.5 millimeter to USB-C adapter right in here, as you can see. I'm not going to take it out, but you kind of get the idea. So that means this doesn't have a headphone jack. And then we have a USB-C cable, I presume. Here, let's have a quick look, see what this looks like. Type A on one end, right here. Type C on the other end, right here. You have to use, obviously, this cable with this charger to get the fast charging, right? And then there's a SIM removal tool here. It's a nice looking one. All right, so that's basically what's in the box. Before I show you this phone, let's unbox the other one real quick as well. So the 23 Pro, same thing. Here we go, opening the box, nothing inside here. We've got the phone here on top. We got another IMEI sticker here and a divider. Strangely though, we don't have a case in this one, and this quick start guide looks like it was just printed and cut up. Well, interesting, because this actually does have a quick start guide, the other one didn't. And you got the same 44-watt charger, but this is different prongs. And then we've got a pair of earbuds with 3.5 millimeter connector. We've got the cable, USB A to C. We have a 3.5 millimeter to USB-C adapter and SIM removal tool. All right, so now that we've seen what's in the box, let's take a look at the phones, shall we? All right, so they're very similar, but in some way different. Let's see if I can pull this one out of its case. There we go, that's one. And then easy peasy. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Ooh, that's very cool looking. So as you can see, they're very similar, but there's one big difference here in terms of industrial design. The V23, the cheaper model, is slab-sided, like an iPhone. It has its perfectly flat edges, and it's a metal build. You can see the antenna bands here. All right, so you've got antenna band, volume rocker, power lock key here on the right side. On the bottom here, you have a speaker. You have USB Type-C port, microphone, SIM slot, and then nothing on the left side except antenna bands. And on top, you got a secondary microphone. All right, so this is slab-sided metal, and based on the temperature, I think this is plastic and this is glass. And then, of course, you got the 3 cameras here, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, this one, the V23 Pro, the higher end model, is actually plastic frame. You can see there's no antenna bands. Got a volume rocker here, power lock key. On the bottom here, you have the speaker, USB-C port, primary microphone, SIM slot. On the left side, you got nothing. On top, you got this, shiny pearlescent insert, secondary mic. This is basically the same setup, and it feels like plastic again, with maybe this part being glass here. Yeah, that's cold. Or it could be that this part is aluminum, and then, the camera bump comes out of it, because this feels exactly the same. So that's the difference just cosmetically. So you're going to say, how is that the cheaper one here the V23 is metal and the more expensive one is plastic. I don't know. I don't make these decisions. So I would have made it out of metal too. But as you can see, this has a curved edge display and kind of curved sides on the back as well, right? It's got that profile that you can clearly see. So yeah, that's a decision. I don't know if I like it, but I think this is more interesting looking from an industrial design perspective with the slab sides, as you can see here. So that's my opinion. Now let's talk specs. These are very, very similar phones, okay? You've noticed that at the top, there's two cameras in a camera notch, not a hole punch. So let me fire it up so you can see this better. Both of them have this notch. They both started on a dime. They're very similar, the displays. 6.4 inches versus 6.5 inches, 1080p, AMOLED, 90 Hertz. Again, the only difference is the size, 6.5 versus 6.4, and the fact that this bigger phone has a curved display, right? The edges are curved, so you're gonna get that kind of slightly annoying thing, which I don't like. But other than the display, and you can see the notch really well here, right? There's two 50 megapixel cameras in this phone, right? Both of them. One is an ultra wide and one is a regular, and it's got autofocus on the regular, I believe, and that lets it do all kinds of cool things like bokeh video, right, at 4K. So I believe the smaller, cheaper one is only 4K 30 frames per second, whereas the V23 Pro is actually 4K 60 frames per second video recording with the front camera. But yeah, this is pretty cool, and you can see there's pre-installed screen protectors on both of them. Now, under the hood, you're probably wondering, how are they different? Well, both of them run MediaTek Dimensity chips. The V23 is a Dimensity 920. This one is a Dimensity 1200. So a little bit more oomph on the Pro model. And then the cameras in the back are very similar as well. Both of them have a triple camera system. The main camera is 64 megapixels on the 23 and 108 megapixels on the Pro model. Then there's an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro. So, sticker cam, basically. That's what you're getting. Basically, that's it. You've got, like a pretty big, pretty powerful main sensor. Not sure if these have OIS, but I really doubt it. 108 on the Pro, 64 on the regular, then an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro camera. I don't have the specs on the pixel sizes or anything. I'm pretty sure that the 108 megapixel sensor is a Samsung sensor with 0.7 micron and it does 9:1 pixel binning. I'm not sure if the 64 megapixel sensor is a Sony or a Samsung, and it definitely does 4:1 pixel binning for outputting 16 megapixels. So that's basically the gist of it in terms of cameras. Now, in terms of charging, as we mentioned, 44 watt fast charging on both of these, but the batteries are slightly different. 4200 milliamp hour on the V23, 4300 milliamp hour on the Pro model. So you're not going to notice much difference in practice. Cosmetically and material-wise, I kind of like the V23 better, but from a spec perspective, of course, the Pro is a better choice, right? So that's basically what you need to take away from these two. But these feel really nice for mid-rangers, and I do appreciate the metal build on this kind of more base model. Both are running FunTouch OS 12 based on Android 12. As far as the rest of the specs go, I'm not sure, for example, if this has stereo speakers. Again, I'll let you know as well when I find out. If the macro has autofocus, I doubt it. I'll let you know if I find out. Yeah, I'm excited to try these out and tell you what I think. Oh, and one more thing. These both have in-display fingerprint sensors, by the way. Here's what they look like. Very similar displays. It's interesting how the V23 started out brighter, but then the V23 Pro is now brighter. It's probably just a brightness adjustment away. Oh yeah, it's cranking it up. So if I put them similar brightness, I think these are going to be very similar display. There you go. You can see it here. Yeah, so, here you go. There's nothing to complain about here. These phones are pretty much what you'd expect. And I like that they're relatively small bezels, even on the one that doesn't have curved edges. And yeah, Vivo makes really nice phones. So the pricing will really decide what these phones are about. I'll let you know when I find out. All right, folks, stay tuned for more videos soon. Obviously, I'd like you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, click the little notification bell below. Tell me in the comments, is this a phone you're interested in? Obviously, if you live in the US, this is not going to matter to you. But for my audience in the UK and Asia and Australia, is this a phone you're interested in? Tell me in the comments. I'd be curious to find out. And let me know in the comments which you'd pick. Would you pick the Pro with the plastic frame and the curved edge display? Would you pick the non-Pro, the V23 with the slab edges and slightly lesser processor and camera? Let me know. If you want to know my thoughts, you got to listen to the podcast and subscribe to the podcast, mobiletechpodcast.com. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, everywhere good podcasts can be found. So please subscribe. I'll find you there with my thoughts on these phones. And until then, cheers, everybody.